If you see my face, you know it's time for a new episode of Bumping and Thumping, your podcast featuring everything about foreign independent wrestling from around the world. I'm Annie, and this week's guest is going to help us set the tone for another amazing experience. You've seen him featured on many prominent wrestling promotions in the Midwest. You've seen him on Mr. Chainsaw Pro. You've seen him at Emerge Wrestling in Indiana. You've seen him carry gold as a former light heavyweight champion at XICW. But this week, he's on Bumping and Thumping, and he is none other than the Anime Assault Solo. So when we return from a word with our sponsors, he will lend us our energy, and we will be right back with our guest, Solo.
Hi, I'm Jay Aubrey Jackson, the $50 computer virus god of Metro Detroit. We are the home of the true flat $50 computer repair. $50 job no matter how long it takes. Never a penny more. Netbooks, laptops, desktop towers, all-in-one computers, phones, iPhones, tablets, iPads, and game systems. Free diagnosis and money-back guarantee. If we don't fix it, you pay nothing. And we do same-day service within 24 hours of drop-off. And are open 7 days a week, so come to the computer virus god now.
Back everyone to Bumping and Thumping, your podcast featuring everything about foreign independent wrestling from around the world. Solo, how are you feeling today?
I'm feeling cool right now, dude. I'm chilling right now.
I'm really glad to hear that. Life be lifing,
Oh yeah, dude, man. I cherish those moments I get to just chill out.
For real. And you know what? Hopefully being on the podcast this week is gonna help you do just that. So how did the love of professional wrestling begin for you? And how did you know for yourself that you wanted to step between the ropes?
The beginning's kind of hard because I feel like I've been watching wrestling all my life since I could barely say words really. Like I remember, like I didn't really have cable as a kid, so I used to watch like Friday Night SmackDown because that was what would come on basic cable, and then like I'd like watch anything like my uncles or brother would like show me and whatnot. Sure. So I kind of always liked wrestling. I used to get the little wrestling action figures. I used to play all the wrestling games. But I didn't really, so like I didn't know that like wrestlers like got trained. I just thought all wrestlers before I knew wrestlers like you could go to like a wrestling school and like get trained. I just thought they were all like actors that somehow just became wrestlers. Like I didn't really like know how they did it till like when I was in college. I don't know how I did it, but I convinced my college friends to watch WrestleMania, dude.
You did,
and they loved it. Yeah. So and then
you know how hard it is to convert non-wrestling fans,
right? Because so I was already watching WrestleMania. It was the WrestleMania, the last one Batista was at when he faced Triple H. And I was already watching it like by myself. Yeah. And then like I kind of like overheard like my college buddies like talking about like, yeah, this WrestleMania is going on. I'm like, hey yo, we should watch it right now. But watching that WrestleMania, I got curious. I'm just like, man, how do wrestlers become wrestlers?
And
so
then
I looked it up.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Explain how you found the path.
Well, so this was probably my last year of college. So while watching WrestleMania, I looked up like how do you become a wrestler? And then it like obviously Google just kind of just tells you like, oh, this wrestling school is all over the country, all over the world, whatnot. And then I looked up what was the closest like wrestling school to me, or like just wrestlers in the wrestling schools in the general Michigan area. And then like a few of them popped up, and one of the schools was House of Truth.
Sure.
But at the time, I didn't really consider wrestling. I was kind of just characters. At the time, I didn't like say like, oh, I'm gonna become a wrestler. I was just kind of curious. It wasn't until I want to say maybe I got out of college 2019. So probably maybe like a year and a half later, till we got into COVID, is when I actually was just like, you know what? I should try wrestling. See if I like it. And the thought process wasn't like, oh, I'm going to be a wrestler. It was more of like, I want to try it and check it out.
Right.
And if I like it, I might stick with it. it started as a thing that I was just gonna try out to see if I liked it because I
Right.
was very unsure of it.
And, and how did you find out that you liked it for yourself? How did it become more than just an interest to you? Do you remember what that was like?
So I actually went the summer before I actually got signed up and paid for training. I actually went up to the House of Truth and then I talked to Truth Martin
Mhm.
and he kind of like we kind of like talked a little bit. He kind of like explained to me what the kind of curriculum was
Mm.
or what kind of goes into it. And then also like about himself and then how kind of like the industry is. And that kind of piqued my interest as well. And I had all this COVID money saved up.
Sure. Sure.
So I kind of paid for training and thinking back on it now, like I feel like it was a lot of money to just try something out to see if I liked it.
Right.
But I'm glad I did like it. And I found that out when I actually got in the ring and we started doing all the physical stuff.
Mhm.
And it kind of got my interest higher and my creativity
Mhm.
going. Made me real excited.
I really loved how, the timing of your path played out. Like, you started watching and you converted non-wrestling fans to join you, which I love.
Mhm.
That's really cool when, you can even further the interest that way. But then like a little while later, you were just looking. You kind of had an interest, but then little did you know you're already walking the path that you're already on, that you're here right now. I think that's really cool. So you have such a heightened spirit that you just project whenever you come out. It translates through your moves, your facial expressions, your interactions with other humans in and out of the ring. What is the source of this spirit and how do you channel that?
Well, some of it is that I enjoy wrestling so much, it kind
Yeah.
of just like brings it out of me, whether I like it or not.
Mhm.
But also, the gimmick I play is heavily influenced and constructed around my love of anime as well. So I kind of just take the mannerisms and the things I like about anime and kind of put them into my performance. It doesn't always work the same way every match. It
Sure.
all just depends on what I'm trying to create or
Mhm.
what we're doing with inside of it.
Mhm.
But that's how I think about it when I want to create my performance.
So what type of elements are typically present when you feel that okay, you can go ahead and you know um really like increase that spirit? What is present for you that makes everything that you just described to me engage?
So inside an anime, a lot of the anime I watch does start off very intense, but
Mhm.
it works just like a movie does. Starts off
Mhm.
intense and it has its low points where a character has some adversity
Mhm.
and the character has to push through that adversity to get back to the level or a higher level than when they start. So that's how I like to use it.
I just think that's really fascinating because it is quite a skill to be able to take something so personal and bring it outside of you for everyone else to witness. And I think the more that you just step out into that ring, like you only hone that even more. So this has been a really amazing first segment, but our sponsors would love to get a word in edgewise. So we will be right back after these words with our sponsors with Solo.
Mosquito-borne diseases or mosquito-borne illnesses are diseases caused by bacteria, viruses, or parasites transmitted by mosquitoes. Nearly 700 million people get a mosquito-borne illness each year, resulting in over 725,000 deaths. If you live near a pond or lake, or you're scheduling an outdoor event, go online or call today for your free consultation.
Welcome back, everyone, to Bumping and Thumping, your podcast featuring everything about foreign independent wrestling from around the world. You know, one of my favorite things to do is just to set the energy on the show. You know, so many things happen, and I just want to entertain the world, but I can't do that alone. So that's why we have entertaining guests like the one joining me today, Solo. So, you know, you're a very high vibrational person, and it takes a lot of energy. It really does. So, how do you center yourself right before a very important match? And do you have any pre-show rituals?
So believe it or not, outside of wrestling, I'm actually a very contained person
Mm-hmm.
because like
Sure.
outside of wrestling, I feel like I kind of have to contain myself,
Mm-hmm.
and also wrestling outside the curtain is where I can kind of let it out. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like it's that environment that allows me to uncontain myself. But pre-match ritual wise, I generally try to keep an energy drink
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
on hand just for a little extra boost.
Mm-hmm.
But I generally do a little bit of jumping or a little bit of like a little bit of a light jog, get the blood flowing.
Absolutely. You know,
A little
I've
bit
seen
of stretching so you don't pull like muscle.
smart.
A little bit of screaming, a little bit of yelling,
Uh-huh. What does the
just to get the
yelling do
juice.
for you? Is there a purpose you do that?
So for me,
Yeah.
like when I first started wrestling, I felt like I had a problem emoting while I was doing physical activity.
Mm-hmm.
So I started before I went outside the curtain, I would start like letting out like a couple of nice screams just so I can get the vocal cords going
Mm-hmm.
and kind of prepare myself to emote while I'm doing all these other things.
That's so crazy. I mean, you have to have so like an extreme level of awareness. Like while you're in motion, you're remembering your spots and just being aware of how you're looking because you're aware that people are watching you. Like how what is your awareness in the ring like for you during those moments?
For me, it's very easy for me to get caught up with what happens next
Mhm.
or what I have to do eventually. And sometimes for me, it's hard to kind of live in the moment a
Yeah.
bit. So for me, what helps with that is the actual contact of the activity,
Yeah.
like being hit
Mhm.
like very firmly or going through these physical pains actually is what brings the focus and the emotion kind of
Right.
out of me and into the element. So that's what helps me at least. Like thankfully wrestling is such a physical and fast paced sport.
I mean, I totally understand that. Like you need the outside experience to trigger that emotion. Otherwise, it's just two people going back and forth. So,
True.
like that emotion, you know, that's what makes it so relatable. That forges the emotional connection to the people watching you. And you do such a great job of conveying that. So what goes through your mind when you're on the top rope and you execute a high stakes move like perfectly? How do
Can I
you outwardly tell it's a success?
can I say swears, dude?
Just just a little bit. Just a little.
I be thinking, man, this shit's about to be sweet, dude. And
Perfect. Perfect.
then sometimes, like me, I like heights. So
Yeah.
sometimes I get up there and I kind of like to take it in.
Mhm.
And then I'm like, man, this could go so bad right now.
Right?
But also I'm thinking, like, I'm so high up. How could I mess this up, dude?
Mhm.
So it's a very split second thing where
Right.
I'm thinking like a lot of things at once. I'm thinking this is really cool. This is about to be awesome. And then I'm thinking, man, this is really dangerous. and then I'm like, oh, I can do this. I can do this.
Right. That's a very interesting thing to be cognizant of, because it's something like you have to commit to, or you run the risk of being too aware and you internalize all of the things that could possibly go wrong, and that could actually like cause the thing to go wrong. So
True.
how do you assess, like, okay, maybe this is a good idea, I should do this here, I should do this now, or how do you have an assessment thing that you do in your head?
So it's a little bit like, I think about it as a everyone has that fight or flight
Right.
when they're in either stressful situations or very high intense situations.
Mm-hmm.
So I think about it as, is this something I've done before?
Sure.
And if the last time I did it, how did it go? How did it feel? What
Mm-hmm.
was the ending result? And then also, it's for me, it's good to get a second opinion on most
Sure.
things, which is why the wrestling community is so important. Because even though we all have our own original ideas, it's a very collaborative activity.
Mm-hmm. It really
So
is.
I may have this cool idea, but I may need someone to tell me like, hey, that's a little dangerous and you've never done that before. Or I may need them to say, yeah, it's a cool idea, but let me show you how to do it in the best way possible to get the best result.
Who is that outside influence for you?
There's quite a bit of handfuls. There's Adam Wick,
Yeah.
there's Tommy Vendetta, there's
Mm-hmm.
KJ Reynolds, there's uh Ryan Matthias,
Mm-hmm.
mm, there's MM3.
Yeah.
So those are some of the reputable people that have helped me a lot. Even if we're not in the same match. And then also I collaborate with the people I'm in matches and, like Kyler Coleman. It can really, it's a handful of people really. I've worked with so many people over the very short years I've worked.
Mhm. And that collaborative effort, it increases the areas in which you can be creative, because that outside influence, it gives you things that you might not have realized before. And like, we're here for the love of wrestling, right? And I
Hmm.
like that you contact those outside parties, because what might you be overlooking? And so if there's like a really like dangerous move that you want to start using, like, is there a process you do when you you want to practice it? Like, do
So
you?
so actually that's a very cool question because I was actually in a situation very similar to that recently. Uh, One move I was very reluctant to hit is called the Canadian Destroyer.
Yes.
And so we all know wrestling's a work and we're working together inside the ring. And I was always afraid that always didn't want to take it because I'm like, yeah, we're flipping and I already got neck problems. I don't want to land on my neck if if dog's thighs aren't thick enough, or if he doesn't or if it doesn't clinch at the right time. And then
Hmm.
I'm like, I didn't really want to give it because what if my thighs aren't thick enough and I don't clinch at the right time?
Sure.
So recently I worked with Jack Price. We've got a bit of a series going on, and he suggests that we do a Canadian that I give him a Canadian destroyer. Jack Price is he's a very smart wrestler. He's a very smart worker. He has great ideas, and he's very strong. And he's one of my go-tos on how to do a move, or if a move's dumb, or if it's cool or not. So when he suggested it, I trusted him to do it with me,
Sure.
and we figured out how to go get into it. We didn't do it fully before the match went, but I was so confident in both of our abilities together. It gave me the confidence to do the move, although I was really scared until I did it. When I did it, I was like, oh, I shouldn't have been scared at all.
Absolutely. Especially with a veteran as seasoned as Jack Price. Like, I think that was a really smart person to practice that with.
So
And
a lot of the times when doing these moves, just as much as it is like me wanting to do them, it's as much as the ability as the person I'm working with to do them, and if I trust them to do it.
100%. And I couldn't have expressed that better myself. But we will return after a break from our sponsors with Solo. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back, everyone, to our final segment of Bumping and Thumping, your podcast featuring everything about foreign independent wrestling from around the world. It's crazy how fast these sessions go, and this is no exception because this has been really fun. Solo, what goals are you currently working on, or anything else you're currently looking forward to?
Currently, I'm still trying to get out of my home state for working. Like mostly focused on the Midwest, like
Yeah.
Indiana, Ohio, Kentucky. I want to get some work in Illinois, possibly. And then also just a continuation of my learning in wrestling. Like wrestling, it's more than just kind of just like getting trained and then getting ready to do it. It's kind of just like building upon like your craft a little bit. So I just take things I come across, put them in a vault, and
Mm-hmm.
if I find something that I feel I need to practice, I practice it. Also, I get into the gym as much as I can, really, because I'm not the largest guy,
Sure.
and we do be getting roughed up in there. So I got to build up some body durability, a little bit of strength, working on physique a little bit. So there's that, and then yeah, just making connections throughout the shows I work and
Mm-hmm.
trying to get out as far as I possibly can.
Are there any promotions you're that are really exciting to you that you would love to be a part of?
Uh, I recently went to a wrestling revolver show and
Ooh.
it had great workers on it. It had a great atmosphere. The crowd was amazing. It's a very great show that I like to get on. That's the one most recently that
Mm-hmm.
I've had my eye on and I want to continue to pursue. Uh, there's a freelance
Mm-hmm.
wrestling, I believe, in Chicago. There's AAW.
Cool.
Uh, I've recently got some work at Emerge Wrestling in Indiana.
Mm-hmm.
I did 2 shows with them, and hoping I can get some more in the future. And those are just a couple that I want to focus on right now. I've had some car difficulties, so
Sure.
definitely like hinders my ability sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what our wrestling community is for. I try to hop in as many cars as I can, really.
I mean, and plus it's sweetens the adventure, Like
It does.
all of you are individuals just working toward a common goal and yet an individual one. And that's one thing I really love about wrestling, just how the different intricate ways like one big goal like comes together. It's huge energetic connection and I love that. So what upcoming shows can we find you at and how can fans connect with you?
So I got a show next Friday for New Edge Wrestling
Mm-hmm.
in Waterford, Michigan. And then the following day, I have a show at GLWA. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I think I said that right. Uh, over on the west side of the state, I forgot the city name. And the week after that, I'm at XICW, and I want to say uh, Clayton Township,
That sounds right.
and
That sounds right.
and and I think that's what I've got so far, the closest ones I can get to. I've got a few next month as well, but yeah, and they can find me most active on Instagram at reels underscore solo, REEL. _solo. The Anime Assault on Twitter. And the Anime Assault on YouTube as well. I've got a handful of free matches there that they can see. And then I upload them, probably upload more, maybe monthly.
Awesome. You know what? And if you're watching, because of course you are, you need to like, share, subscribe to this individual here, because he is coming to a TV screen near you, but with the help of people like yourself, makes it possible. So, and I'd like to thank you Solo for your time. This was awesome. I don't remember the last time that we actually got to sit one-on-one and talk for a while. It's been quite a long time.
I love podcasts.
Absolutely. I'd like to thank our crew for what they do on screen and behind it, and our friends at Trailways Transport for their love and support. And everyone, this has been another episode of Bumping and Thumping, your podcast featuring everything about foreign independent wrestling from around the world. I'm Annie. We'll catch you next time.